She gets a lot done when she's asleep. She's sleeping peacefully, and all of a sudden I hear, "Bring on the young men in uniform!"
At 61, Brad Pitt is no longer Hollywood's golden boy with flowing hair and a smile that could melt an entire generation. In his place stands a seasoned man, calm, contemplative, with eyes that carry both understanding and the traces of time. He no longer courts attention on red carpets, nor does he need dazzling praise to validate his place, because he himself has become an icon. Yet in a recent interview, amid seemingly ordinary reflections, Brad Pitt uttered a line that made the world stop in its tracks. "She was the love of my life." Not Angelina Jolie, the woman who built a family of 6 children with him and dominated global headlines, but Jennifer Aniston, the woman who first entered his life with a gentle smile and a simple introduction from a manager. 2 decades have passed since their legendary Malibu wedding. That love weathered storms, shattered under the spotlight, then quietly survived in memory, until Brad finally found the courage to call it by name once more. This is not just a love story. It is the journey of a man who walked through glory, mistakes, and collapse, only to stand before himself and realize that the most precious thing he ever had was the very thing he lost. And here lies the part of the story that remains unfinished. Before becoming one of the most sought-after men on the planet, Brad Pitt was just a small-town boy from Missouri, raised in a conservative family where faith and discipline coexisted with a restless dream of escaping the narrow borders of Springfield. A sporty student, a movie enthusiast, once dreaming of being a journalist, he dropped out of journalism just 2 weeks before graduation, driving to California in an old Datsun with less than $300 in his pocket. Hollywood, in the late 1980s, was unforgiving, but Brad Pitt nearly broke the laws of natural selection. With hypnotic looks and eyes that seemed both distracted and intelligent, he quickly landed bit parts in TV shows and music videos. The turning point came in 1991, a brief appearance in Thelma and Louise as the charming drifter seducing Gina Davis. That was an immortal cinematic moment, and Hollywood could no longer look away. From there, Brad Pitt entered what many called the era of Hollywood's most bankable face. He starred in A River Runs Through It, Legends of the Fall, and Interview with the Vampire, and with each appearance, audiences wrestled with the same question. Was he truly a great actor, or simply a man too perfectly beautiful? The answer grew clearer with Seven and Fight Club, where Pitt revealed a psyche that was chaotic, sharp-edged, and confrontational. Yet even as his career soared, his private life became fodder for tabloids. His loud romances with Juliette Lewis, just 17 at the time, and later Gwyneth Paltrow, his fiancée whom he introduced to his family, ended under relentless public scrutiny. He was handsome, rebellious, loving fiercely, then retreating quietly. And with each heartbreak, curiosity only deepened. What exactly was this man running from? No one knew. Perhaps not even Brad Pitt himself. Until 1998, when he met Jennifer Aniston, and for the first time the world saw him smile genuinely in front of the cameras, no longer playing anyone but himself. They didn't meet on a film set, nor at some dazzling Hollywood party. It was a quiet date, arranged by their managers, so simple it felt unbelievable for 2 of the biggest stars in the world. At the time, both were carrying their own wounds. Brad had just ended his noisy romance with Gwyneth Paltrow, while Jennifer Aniston, despite Friends being a cultural phenomenon, still wrestled with doubts about stability. Two people so famous they could barely tell what was real anymore somehow found each other in the most ordinary of moments. Jennifer would later recall, "From the very beginning, it was strangely easy, like we had known each other before. In Hollywood, where everything comes fast and leaves even faster, that sense of peace was a luxury." They kept their relationship secret for nearly a year, dodging cameras, avoiding media questions. But in September 1999, when Brad held Jennifer's hand on the Emmy red carpet, the world erupted. No confirmation was needed. A look, a smile. That was enough. Hollywood had just witnessed the birth of a golden couple. The proposal itself was pure cinema. During a Sting concert, under bright lights and the cheers of thousands, Brad went down on one knee. In his hand was a custom platinum diamond ring, 7 months in the making. No grand staging, no script, just a moment so unexpected that Jennifer burst into tears. It felt like the most romantic movie scene, except this time, there were no cameras. On July 29, 2000, on the Malibu shore before 200 close guests, they became husband and wife. The ceremony sparkled with fireworks, intimate, yet not ostentatious. And when they exchanged vows, it was as though a true fairy tale had unfolded. Jennifer promised to always make Brad his beloved banana smoothies, while Brad vowed to compromise on the thermostat. Small, trivial things, yet so genuine they made people believe Hollywood love could be as simple as any ordinary marriage. For the next 4 years, they embodied an American dream of love. They appeared at every event without losing their natural ease. They shared careers, co-founding Plan B Entertainment, a film company that would later become a powerhouse. They even brought their love onto the screen when Brad guest starred on Friends as a man who hated Rachel Green. Jennifer called it one of my favorite episodes, and audiences adored it so much they believed they were witnessing true love play out on screen. They gave the public a rare image of Hollywood, kind, funny, and warm. No scandals, no bitter exchanges, no overblown drama. Just two lovers, a legendary wedding and an American dream where love could be both glamorous and ordinary. But beneath that blinding glow, wounds and fractures began to surface in what had seemed a perfect romantic bond. And as with every fairy tale, the tragedy was never far from the script of fate. From the outside, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston still looked like Hollywood's golden couple, hand in hand on the red carpet, radiant smiles under flashing cameras, the very image of a love unshakable amid Hollywood's vanity. Yet behind those perfect photographs, an invisible distance was widening. Jennifer began to realize the man she lived with was already gazing toward another horizon. As Friends neared its final season, Jennifer longed to step away, build a home, and begin her journey into motherhood. Her heart brimmed with anticipation, but each time she spoke of that dream, Brad's eyes drifted elsewhere. He no longer listened with patience, no longer painted the picture of a small family with her. Inside him grew another hunger. Roles that demanded intensity, adventures without borders, the lure of exploration. To Brad, the calm Jennifer craved felt like a gilded cage, trapping the freedom he yearned for. Jennifer stood at a crossroads, the stage lights dimming behind her, the dream of becoming a mother still out of reach. But in their vast home, the only thing she heard was Brad's silence. Not born of indifference, but of a man who himself no longer knew where he truly belonged. Her pain wasn't measured in arguments. They rarely raised their voices. It lived in the quiet evenings when Brad was absent, leaving dinners to go cold, It lived in the smile she forced for the press, while her heart quietly splintered. And most bitter of all, it lived in her answer when asked, "Was Brad the love of your life?" Jennifer softly replied, "I don't know, but he was certainly a great love." As for Brad, he never denied that love, but he lacked the courage to hold on to it. Within him, the fire of passion still burned, pushing him toward a different future, even if it meant leaving behind the woman who had given him everything. In January 2005, the two released a joint statement. A peaceful separation, no betrayal, no scandal. But only weeks later, photographs of Brad playing with Angelina Jolie and her son Maddox on a Kenyan beach circled the globe. For Jennifer, the pain was no longer private. It was a wound laid bare before the entire world. The fairy tale did not end with a quiet embrace of farewell. It collapsed in the flash of cameras, in sensational headlines, and in the sting of betrayal while her heart still loved. For Jennifer, she lost not only a husband, but also her faith that love could be a safe haven in Hollywood. For Brad, he walked away carrying a sense of liberation shadowed by guilt, a ghost that would haunt him for years to come. If his marriage to Jennifer Aniston was a safe harbor, then his love with Angelina Jolie was a storm, sweeping Brad Pitt away with intensity, allure, and lofty ideals, but also carrying danger within it. From the very beginning of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the chemistry between them spilled far beyond the screen. Brad, caught in restlessness and longing for change, saw in Angelina a reflection of the freedom and adventure he had always kept buried. When images of Brad playing with Jolie and her son Maddox on a Kenyan beach surfaced, the world was stunned. To the public, Jennifer became the victim, Angelina the other woman, and Brad, though he denied cheating, appeared as the man who had betrayed the very home he once swore to protect. Hollywood split in two, Team Jen and Team Angelina. Brad stood in the middle, admired for his passionate love, yet condemned as a traitor, and he seemed willing to bear it all, as long as he could live true to his choice. In that whirlwind, Brad and Angelina built a family unlike any other. They traveled the world, adopting children from Cambodia, Ethiopia, and Vietnam, and later welcoming 3 biological children. Their global family radiated both humanitarian ideals and the unmistakable aura of power and influence. Beside Angelina, a fierce, determined, and ambitious woman, Brad was no longer just a Hollywood actor. He became her companion on UN missions, the father of 6 children of different bloodlines and nationalities. It was a grand dream, but also an unbearable weight. In 2014, they married at their French estate, with vows written by their children and a wedding dress embroidered with the kids' drawings. For Hollywood, it was the wedding of the century. For Brad, perhaps it was only a fleeting moment of peace in a storm-laden journey. Then, in 2016, the real storm struck. Angelina Jolie filed for divorce. This time, there was no amicable parting as with Jennifer. Brad was accused of violence on a plane, clashing with his children, and became mired in a long, bitter legal battle over custody and assets. He admitted to alcoholism, entered therapy, and struggled toward recovery. But in the public eye, the golden image of Hollywood's leading man had already fractured. Brangelina, the name once synonymous with ideal love, humanitarianism, and power, was reduced to a tragic testament of a modern paradox. When passion burns too fiercely and ideals soar too high, they can consume those who live within them. And in the wistful gaze of public opinion, a quiet question lingers. Where did Brad truly lose his way? Was it the moment he chased the storm that was Angelina? Or the moment he let go of the woman who had loved him with a simple heart, asking for nothing to prove? After the Brangelina whirlwind, with 6 children, humanitarian campaigns, and the blinding glare of global fame, Brad Pitt emerged from the marriage not only with divorce papers, but with a fractured soul. For the first time in nearly 3 decades, the man who had once bewitched all of Hollywood was forced to confront himself in absolute solitude. In 2016, Angelina Jolie filed for divorce. On paper, the reason was irreconcilable differences, but what the press uncovered afterward was far more complex. A private jet incident between Brad and his eldest son, Maddox, leaked to the public, sparking investigations, custody battles, and accusations of anger issues and alcoholism. Though never criminally charged, Brad's image as the model father collapsed before the world's eyes. No defense, no retaliation. Brad chose silence. He withdrew from parties, avoided cameras, and began the hard road of sobriety. In an interview with GQ, Brad admitted for the first time he was a heavy drinker, once feeling as though he was living a life that was just a performance. These words weren't crafted to restore his image. They were a bid for liberation. He turned to AA, lived quietly, painted, sculpted, practiced breathing exercises, small acts of salvation for a man once devoured by his own success. Alongside his private collapse, Brad's career mirrored that inner struggle. Allied, 2016, released in the middle of the divorce storm, told the story of a spy caught between love and betrayal, reflecting his own life like a mirror. Then came Ad Astra, 2019, where Brad played a lonely astronaut searching for his lost father, a performance critics called Pitt's cinematic confession, a man staring into emptiness and trying to mend himself from within. In a conversation with Parade, Brad revealed what he had never dared admit during his marriage to Jennifer. I felt like I was living someone else's life. I tried to make it interesting through film, but in reality, it was completely hollow. The words ignited a storm. Many believed he had unintentionally reopened an old wound, hurting Jennifer once more. But this time, Brad didn't evade. He clarified, and unlike the polished posture of a star managing a PR crisis, he spoke as a man owning his flaws. Jennifer is a wonderful woman, funny, generous, loving, and still a friend of mine. The problem wasn't her, it was me. He did not deny his love for Angelina, nor did he dismiss his children. But when he spoke of Jennifer, Brad's eyes softened, not with desire to possess, but with understanding, respect, and a regret too deep to ever put fully into words. At 50, Brad Pitt was the man who had everything. At 60, he learned to hold on to what fame could never buy: peace, forgiveness, and the memory of a love long past, etched into his heart like a beautiful scar. And along that quiet road of redemption, the name Jennifer Aniston, the former America's sweetheart, the silent wound he once caused, never truly left Brad's heart. As the pieces of Brad Pitt's life began to fracture, his broken marriage with Angelina Jolie, his image worn down by the media, and the endless legal battle over custody, something strange happened. Jennifer Aniston, once seen as his outdated past, quietly became the last emotional anchor the public believed he could return to. No reproach, no counterattacks, no public accusations. For nearly 2 decades since their split, Jennifer had carried herself with remarkable calm and grace. She never spoke ill of Brad. Even when labeled the victim of Hollywood's greatest betrayal, she responded in a Vogue interview with quiet strength. The whole thing was not cool. It was not kind. But I don't want to live in bitterness. The public adored her for it. And gradually, sympathy for Jen turned into a kind of unspoken indictment of Brad. Yet Jennifer never exploited that to redefine herself. She worked, moved forward, found love again with Justin Theroux, then stepped away from that marriage just as quietly, without spectacle. She went to therapy, adopted dogs, meditated, and became the embodiment of a woman who needed no title of someone's wife to feel complete. Then, in 2019, at Jennifer's 50th birthday party, Brad appeared. No fanfare, no official invitation, yet his presence sent shockwaves. Rumors of a reconciliation spread instantly, but Jen neither confirmed nor denied. She simply smiled and carried on with her celebration, as if Brad's presence was natural, needing no explanation. The most unforgettable moment came at the 2020 SAG Awards. Brad won Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, while Jennifer received her award for the morning show. Backstage, they crossed paths. A look, a gentle touch of the hand, a smile without hesitation. In that moment, people didn't see ex-lovers. They saw two people who had once loved deeply and were now grown enough to smile at what had been. Though repeatedly rumored to be secretly back together, both Brad and Jen denied it. "We're friends," Brad told reporters, his smile tinged with a hint of shyness. But for audiences, those who had watched them love, marry, break apart, and forgive, just that single touch was enough to rekindle a generation of memories. And then, in a twist of fate, when Brad finally dared to admit publicly, "She was the love of my life," Jennifer was already beginning a new romance, glowing with serenity as if she had at last found a shoulder to lean on. For Brad, the confession only grew heavier with regret. A love still etched in his heart, but no longer part of his present. Among all the women who had passed through Brad Pitt's life, Juliette Lewis, Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, only Jennifer Aniston remained. Not as an ex-lover, but as an unconditional friend. No demand for restitution, no call for public apology. Just a quiet presence, enough to make a man seeking redemption look back and whisper, "She was the love of my life." Perhaps no longer his love today, but a love that can never be replaced. Brad Pitt once had it all: fame, beauty, talent, the most stunning women in Hollywood, and a filmography any actor would envy. Yet only when standing on the far side of life's slope, with silver in his hair, deep lines by his eyes, and a heart weathered by too many breakups, did he dare utter a simple truth he had avoided for nearly 2 decades. The most important woman in his life was the very first he let slip away. Not because Jennifer Aniston was more perfect than anyone else, not because he longed to go back, but because only after wandering far do we recognize where home truly was. His words, "She was the love of my life," were not a rekindled declaration of love. They were a confession, a belated repentance from a man who loved in the wrong way, lived at the wrong time, and now must face the reality that love has passed and will never return. In a world where Hollywood romances so often end in betrayal and bitterness, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, though no longer together, once stood as a symbol of maturity and forgiveness. But even that symbol has closed its chapter. For while Brad still wrestles with films, business, and the lingering legal wars with Angelina, Jennifer has moved on, finding peace in a new love. That piece no longer has room for Brad, and perhaps has never left him feeling quite so lost. That is why, the moment he admitted she was the love of my life, felt all the more cruel, a confession spoken far too late, when the woman herself was no longer there to hear it. And what about you? Do you believe Brad Pitt still loves Jennifer Aniston? Or is it only the echo of a man clinging to a shadow that has long since slipped away? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel for more untold love stories of Hollywood.